So today we have to start with while loops. Okay. So now the next topic is loops. Now what are loops? So if you want to execute a set of statements, or if you want to execute a block of code again and again repeatedly. Okay. For then in that case we use loops. Now when we want to execute a set of statements or a block of code again and again, suppose you want to execute a block of code again and again, okay, then we use loops. Okay. Now loops are of two types. Loops are of two. There are two kinds of loops. One is while loop and second is for loop. Okay. Now one by one we'll cover both of them. The first one is while loop. Now what is a while loop? Now suppose you want to execute a set of statement again and again till the time a termination condition is not met. Example, so what we have, if I write while and inside the while we give a termination condition. This is a condition. On reaching to this condition the code will stop executing. Okay, now inside this one I want to write a block of code that I want to run again and again. Okay, that I want to run n number of times. Okay, now at the end of a while loop we gave a increment statement. So increment is given so that we can increment the value of I so that we can reach our termination condition. Now let me explain you how do we do it. Suppose I have a variable I equal to 0 and I take while and I write while I is less than 11, right? And I give print I. Now what do you want to do in this loop is I want to print the value of I till the time my I is less than 11. So this is my termination condition. Okay, termination condition. Now if I execute this as it is, now what will happen? It will first initialize my I equal to 0, then it will check for the condition while I is less than 11. It is a true now. Yeah, it's a true. So now it will go to print I and it will print 0. Now again it will go and this circle is going to repeat it again and again. Now we are never going to reach this point. We are never going to break this point. Now to reach this equation, to reach the termination condition, we give the increment. Now I write I equal to I plus 1. Now let's understand how this code is getting executed. Let me copy it. Now I am initializing my I equal to 0. So I value of I is 0, right? Now when it reaches to the while line, it checks I less than 11 means 0 less than 11. Yes, it's true. Okay, it's true. Okay, it goes inside it and prints the value of I. So I is 0. Okay, it printed 0. Now it moved to the next line. It says I equal I plus 1. It means now the value of I becomes 1, right? Because we have incremented the value of I with 1. So remember, so here I will go 0, 0 plus 1, and the sum of this value will be stored in I. Okay. Now it will again go to the while. It will check if this condition is true or not. If it is again a true, it will move inside it and print and do action, and it will move inside and perform the action that it wants to perform. Now it wants to print I again. Now the value of I is 1, so it will print 1. Now again it will go and the I will become 2 here. Again it will go here. It will be again a true because 2 is less than 11. So again it will come inside the while loop. It will print 2. It will come here and the value 5 will be divided by 1. So this process is going to repeat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let us suppose we have reached 9. Now I is 9 now. Now when the I is 9, it goes to here and I becomes so 10. It again goes to while it checks the condition. Again it's going to be true. Now it again moves here and prints 10. Again it comes here, now I becomes 11. Now when it becomes 11, it again goes to the while and it checks the condition. Now this condition becomes false. Now this becomes false. Now if it is a false, it will not go inside it. Now it will exit exit the while and break, right? So now means, so we have got printed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. But when I becomes 11, it breaks. Let's verify it. Yeah, so I got 0, 1, 2 up to 10. What is the value of I now? 11, right? Okay, so this is a simple while loop. So are we good with this? Okay, so now let's do one example. If you want to print the table of 5, let's do it. We take a variable table equal to 5 and I write while I less than 11. We also take a variable I equal to 1. I say I less than 11. What I want to do, I want to print I into table, and at last I want to increment the value of I because, so what I'll it will print 5 into 1 5, then 10, then 15 and so on up to 50, है ना? Because we are multiplying it with the value, because we are multiplying the value of table with I, right? So I equal to I plus 1. Okay, so let's try this. Yeah, we get all the tables. Now suppose I ask you to print all the tables from 1 to 100. Now what will you do? Let's take, let's initialize table with 1 and I with also 1. Now we will make the use of nested loops, nested while loop. So like why we have done nested if else, we have nested while loops. Now let's try it. I write table equal to 1, I equal, let's, I will declare inside it. I take while table is less than equal to 100. What to do? I equal to 1. I'm taking I equal to 1 because if I do not, if I take it outside, then I have to reinitialize it to 1 again and again. If I is less than equal to 11 or 10, what to do? Print table into I, right? Now in this while loop we need to increment I, right? I equal to I plus 1, and for the outer loop we need to increment the value of table, right? क्योंकि तभी वो जाके नए नए टेबल बनेगा ना, पहले 1 का, फिर 2 का, 3 का, 4 का. So in that sense only it will print all the tables, right? So when we run this, we get all the tables. So what we can do, we can even print a line like the table of uh, we can print the line the table of comma table. Okay, and even at last we can just print a blank line so that we can get that this is a ending. Okay, so if we run this, we get an error. Now why do we get an error? We need to use a paste function. Again get an error. Why? Can anyone tell me what's the error? This is the extra one, no? Okay. So now we get the tables. Now we're getting 10, 20, 50. Okay. Okay. So this is nested loop. Now next is for loop. Now what is a for loop? So for loop is used when we want to iterate over a sequence. So when we want to iterate over a sequence, we use a for loop. Example, let's take an example. We write for, okay, so we have a range function. Once one, let's, if I write 1 to 5 and I just run this, so I get 1 to 5 all the numbers 1 2 3 4 5. So what happens in the range is we give a start and the end. Now how do we iterate it over a for loop? Let's take it for I in 1 to 50. Suppose I just write it and I need to perform an action. So I am performing an action, that is print I, or instead of print, yeah, print square of, okay, yeah, print I. So this is how do we iterate over a sequence. Now the difference between for loop and while loop is that in the while loop we have to inside the while we give a termination condition and at the last we give the increment condition, but here in the for loop in the first line only we give the start and the end. Okay, so termination and the increment is all in the beginning only, right? So that's the difference in a for loop and a while loop. Now let's make a list. Now how do we make a list in this? We write list and write a comma b comma c. Now this is a list in R. Now how do I iterate over list? We just write for car in cars. What to do? Print a car. Now what happens in this? So cars is a list now. We declare a list by using this list and pass on the values inside this in R. Now cars is a list of ABC. है ना? It has a number of elements. Now when I write for car in cars, now what happens here? For every value in the cards A, B and C, it will first go to the variable car and it will perform the action. So I can use here car, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, whatever I want to write, I can write it. So let's run this. We'll see. We get what happens. It says unexpected symbol in for car. Okay, we are not using the brackets. No? We need to put in the bracket because this is a condition. Okay, now let's run this. So we get A, B, and C. So this is how do we iterate over a sequence. Okay, so this is a simple for loop. Now similarly we can use a nested for loop. So that will be for inside a for. Okay, so okay, so let's do one nested for loop as well. Okay, let's do one program instead of writing the nested one. Let's do a program. I want from 1 to 100, ठीक है, I want to get only numbers divisible by 7 and 9 both. So how will get? So let's try it. We write for I in 1 to 100. So what we do for I in 1 to 100, if I modulus 7 equal to 0, and and I modulus 9 equal to 0, what we do, then we print I, ठीक है, else we do nothing. Now we are using for and if together. Now if we run this, okay, so we get only one number that is divisible by 7 and 9 both. Is it true? Only one number will be there. Okay, let's change the values. Let's say write 2 and 5. Yeah, so we get 10, 20. Yeah. Okay. So this is how do we use a for if inside a for. Now if I want find all the value which are divisible by 7 or 9. So then what we'll do, we'll write ai plus modulus 7 or I modulus 9. Now we'll get both the numbers which are divisible by either 7 or 9. Okay, so this is a list of numbers we get. Okay, so this is how do we use a for loop. Fine. So next topic we have is functions. So let's do functions in R. Now what is a function? So function is basically a block of code, ठीक है, that we have defined, and it only runs when it is called, ठीक है. So we can pass a data, we can pass any parameter. Okay, so any data that we pass inside the function is known as parameter. Okay, so we can pass any parameter inside the function, and based upon that parameter our function will behave, or you can say our function will act, and our function can return a value as a result. So it is okay, our function can return a value as a result. So let's see, let's check once. Okay, how do we define a function? Let me write it. Function is a block of code, okay, that is executed when it is called. Okay, we define a function, okay, and keep it ready in the memory to get it called. Now let's see how do we define a function. So first of all we write the function name. Let's say I write a function name as hello, and then we write this symbol and we write function. Okay, open and close brackets. Now this is a simple function with the name of hello. It is defined. Now this is called the definition of a function. So we are defining a function, so it will have the that what action it will perform, what action our function will perform when it is called. So I want to just perform print hello in this function. Okay, now let's put this function in the memory. Now this is in the memory. Okay, now let's call it. So wherever I want I can just call the function. I can just write hello and just simply run it. So when I run this function, just hello, I get hello because this is what it was expected to do. So this hello function is expected to just print hello on the screen. Let's modify the string to as hello world. Now we again have to rerun it because we have made some changes in the function definition, and we run the function. It says hello world. So this is called the definition of a function, and this is called calling of a function. So this is how a function is called, and this is how a function is defined. Okay. Now this is a function without parameters, without return statement. Okay. Now a function can have any number of parameters. Now what are parameters? Parameters are the values which we supply to the function so that it can behave accordingly. So I just write hello user, and this is then the name of a function. So I just write it as a function. So this is how I define a function, and inside this I'm passing two variables. So I can pass n number of variables in a function. So I'm passing two variables and I'm using a paste function. I'm writing hello, comma, I'm giving name1 and name2. So we can do paste now. Paste function is used to combine two strings. So let's run this in the memory. Now this function is inside the memory. Now how do we call a function? We just write hello user and pass on two variables a and b, that is name1 and name2. So let's write hello world Arun Varun. Let's run this. When we run this, we get an error. What's the error? Uh, because we have u as capital and here we are using the u small. So that's the error. So make sure the function name is exactly the same. Now we get hello Arun Varun because we passed these two parameters inside the function as name1 and name2, and these name1 name2 are used in the paste function as hello Arun Varun. Okay, so this is how do we use a function with some parameters. Okay, now these parameters can be integer, character, numeric, or complex. Whatever parameter you want to pass, you can pass it. You can pass n number of parameters. Now let's make a new function with a return. Now what is a return? Now let's do one thing. Let's store this function in a variable a, and now run this. Now it is run. Now check the value of a. A has hello Arun Varun. Now let's do one thing. Use a function with a return. So when we want that a function should return the value, in that case we use a return statement. Now how do we use it? Let's see. We'll make a function add numbers. So I'm making a function add numbers, and I'm writing and I'm supplying two numbers a1 and a2. Okay, and inside this I am doing return a plus b. Now this is the operation I am performing in this function. Let's run this. Now function is in the memory. Now if I write add num and just pass 1 and 2, I run this. Now it says non-numeric binary addition. Non-numeric argument to binary operator. This is not a non-numeric. No? Okay, we need to write it inside a variable. Wait. Add num फंक्शन बनाया, ठीक बनाया फंक्शन तो. Okay, sorry. The error is we have used here a1 a2, but here we are using a plus b. So this is the error. ठीक है, let's run this. Okay, when we run this and check the value of x, so x will have their sum. X will have their sum, that is 1 plus 2. Okay, so this is how we make functions. Okay, now let's make a function that will input temperature in Celsius and return us its Fahrenheit. Now the formula for Fahrenheit height and Celsius is Fahrenheit equal to 9 by 5 multiplied by C plus 32. So this is the function, this is the formula which we use for conversion of Fahrenheit to Celsius. Now let's define a function. Let's define a function f2h. We write a function and we pass on the value Celsius. And what we are returning? We are returning 9 by 5 into C plus 32. So this is the thing which we want to return. Let's run this function in the memory. Now f2c we run and we pass on the value, say 9, say 32. So when we run this, so this is the temperature which we get in Fahrenheit. Okay, so this is how do we use functions. So next we have is R data structures. Now in R we have various type of data structures. The first one is vector, the second is list, third is matrices. So let me write it again: vectors, list, matrices, array, data frame. Okay, so these are the and factor. So these are the different type of data structures that we use in R. Okay, so one by one we will study all of these. Now let's first study about vector. Now what is a vector? Now vector is basically a group of elements. You can say vector is simply a list of items that have all the same type of variables. Vector is basically a list of items of same data type. If it is integer, then all will be integer. If it is a numeric, all will be integer, and if it's a character, all will be character. So this is a vector data type. Okay, now how do we define a vector? We just we combine vector by using C symbol. We use C, and inside this C brackets we give the value. Let's define a vector A equal to C, and inside this we give the values. So these are all numerics. So this is a vector. So this is how we define a vector. Okay, now in vector let's check the A. Let's check what is inside A. Now A has all these numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, right? Now next we have is a function class. So if I write class of A, I check, now I get numeric. Now why numeric? Now class of A gives the data type of all the numbers of all the class of A gives the data type of the elements, okay, that are present in the vector. Okay, this is the use of class function. Now next is length. Now length function, it gives in the length, if we pass the variable A, it will give you the total number of elements in a vector. So we have 7 elements in the vector, right? So this is 7. Now we have a range function है ना. So if I write num1 equal to 1 to 100 now and check num1 and the class की जरूरत नहीं है. Now we get, so num1 is also a vector, ठीक है, that has all same type of data. Now that is numeric. Okay. Right. Now a vector can be of logical numbers as well. Suppose I write C true and false, true, false, false, true. So this is also, a vector. ठीक है, true, false, false, and true. Okay. Now let's start working on a vector. We define a vector car equal to C. We have these values 2, 20, 200, 10, 12, 21, 34. So these are the different values we have. Let's run them. Okay. Now first function is sort. So sort is basically used to sort the elements in a vector in ascending order. Now this data is in the ascending order, right? Sort in ascending order. Now if you want to sort this data in descending order, you just write sort cards and write ascending equal to false. A sorry, not ascending, we write decreasing. Decreasing equal to true. Now if I run this, now I'll get the data in the descending order. So now my vector is sorted in descending order. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about indexing. Now as we know in Python the indexing starts from 0, but here in R indexing starts from 1. Now what is indexing? Suppose now this is a vector है ना, car. If I just write the car, I get all the elements. But what if I just want only one element? I just want the first element of car. For that I'll use indexing. So if I write car of 1, now this will give me the first value, that is 2. Now, what indexing says, each element in the vector, it has a position or index, है ना? So we can use that index number to get the element. Now indexing here starts from 1. Now I'm writing all the indexes for all the variables. Now if you want to access 200, you can just write cards of 3. If you run this, you get 200. Now each element has index value, so we can call that element by just using that index number. Okay, so this is how we use indexing in vector. Now suppose you want to access 2, 4 and 6 numbers. For that you can pass a vector inside this car, a vector 2, 4 and 6. Now you will get all of these values at index number 2, 4 and 6, right? Now okay, so this is how we use indexing in R. Now indexing is a common concept. We will use the same type of indexing in list, vector, whatever data type we use in future. Next thing is negative indexing. Now negative indexing in Python and R, they both are totally different. So negative indexing in Python, it says it starts from the ending, but here in R, negative indexing has a different meaning. Suppose I write car and I give C -1 and 4. Now what will it do? Accept the value at minus 1 index and accept the value at minus 4 index. It will print all the values. So at one index, minus 1 means the one index, minus 4 says the fourth index. So at 1 I have value 2, so 2 is not there, and at the index number 4 we are having value this, so this value is also not there. Okay, so this is the meaning of a negative indexing. So we can even pass a single negative index as well in a vector. Okay, so this is how negative indexing works here. Now if you want to change any value at, at a given index, for that you can just write car1 and give the new value. Now if you run this, now this car at index number 1 will have a new value. Let's check the car again, the car variable. Now value at index 1 is replaced by 11. Earlier it was 2, right? So this is how do we change the value at any index. Is it fine? Okay. So next is repeat vectors. Now now next is repeat vectors. Now what does they do? If you want to repeat a number again and again n number of times, if you want to repeat a group of series for n number of times, then we can use a repeat vector. Now how do we use it? Let's see. We write rep, we pass on the vector which we want to repeat. Suppose I want to repeat 10, 20 and 30, and I want to repeat each of the numbers by 2. So now what will happen? RE will have, let's run RE. So RE is my variable name. It has 10 two times, 22 times and 32 times. So this is how a repeat vector is used. Now let's write some other way. Suppose you want to repeat 10 as 2 times, 20 as 4 times and 30 as 8 times. For that then we will pass a parameter times, and in the times we'll pass a list which will have the number of times each element will repeat. Now I said 2, 4 and 8. Now my first value, that is 10, it will get repeated by 2 times, 20 will get repeated by 4 times and 30 will get repeated by 8 times. So let's write req and check the value. Yeah, so we get it according 10 2 times, 24 times and 38 times. Okay, so this is how this works, how this repeat works.